So let's start with what is DHCP in NSX. We all know DHCP, right? Instead of manually assigning IP address to every VM, DHCP automatically gives IP, gateway, and DNS, all that, right? Now in NSX, the good part is NSX itself can act as a DHCP server, or NSX can forward DHCP request to an external DHCP server. Okay, so NSX supports both the DHCP version 4 and then DHCP version 6, and we can configure it directly on the segment. So this is super useful, especially in overlay networks. So now next, what we need to understand here is where does NSX provide DHCP from? Okay, so in NSX, DHCP can be consumed in two places. First one is the segments, okay, and second one is your tier 1 router or tier 0. Okay, so don't worry, we'll see both one by one. Before that, let's quickly check prerequisites because without this DHCP will not work. Okay, so before configuring DHCP, we need to make sure NSX base build is already completed. When I say base build, NSX manager is already deployed. Okay, transport nodes are already configured, and then segments are already configured. These are the base requirement which needs to be completed before we configure DHCP. Next is edge node and edge cluster are deployed. Okay, this is mandatory because DHCP runs on edge. Okay, so I'm just verifying. In the lab, edge nodes are already deployed and edge clusters are already configured as per this screenshot. Next prerequisite, DHCP profile is created. So go to that networking part in the NSX manager, then go to network profiles, DHCP, then you can find the option to add DHCP profile. So if this profile is missing, DHCP won't work. Okay, so whatever you configure on the segment, without this profile, DHCP will not work in NSX. All right, now that prerequisites are clear, let's move to the next logical question. Like we said, DHCP profile is mandatory, but what exactly is a DHCP profile, and why does NSX give two different types? This where many people get confused. So listen carefully. Let's try to understand what is a DHCP profile in NSX. So think of DHCP profile as an instruction sheet for NSX. Okay, it tells NSX who will act as the DHCP server, where DHCP request should go, how DHCP traffic should be handled. So whenever a VM sends a DHCP discovery message, NSX checks what DHCP profile is attached, what type of DHCP service should I use. That's the role of this DHCP profile. Next is types of DHCP profile in NSX. So NSX provides two types of DHCP profile. Okay, so you can find the screenshot attached here. You can see DHCP server is the first one, and DHCP relay. Okay, there are two options and both are fixed, and we cannot add a third one on this. Okay, this is the default profile types available. First one, DHCP server, right? So this is used when DHCP server is inside NSX. So here NSX itself will assign IP address, so no external DHCP server is involved. So where can DHCP server run inside NSX? As I told earlier, it runs on tier 1 gateway, tier 0 gateway, or the segment itself. So if your requirement is you want NSX to manage IP address, then you can go with DHCP server option in this DHCP profile. This is very common in private cloud, isolated overlay networks, then environments where NSX owns network completely. Okay. So we need to remember one thing. Even though we say NSX is a DHCP server, actually edge nodes are doing the real work. NSX manager only configures it, but edge node executes the DHCP service. That's why edge cluster is mandatory for DHCP. Now let's discuss the second type, DHCP relay. So this is used when DHCP server is outside NSX. For example, Windows DHCP server or Linux DHCP server, physical network DHCP, or data center central DHCP. In these cases, NSX does not assign IP address. NSX only forwards DHCP request, but actual IP comes from external server, not from NSX. So NSX behaves like if a VM needs an IP, it tells the VM that I'll forward your DHCP request to the external server. This is very common in enterprise environments and also in traditional data centers. So finally, let me simplify the profile types. So if you are selecting DHCP server, here NSX is going to act as a DHCP server. If you are going to select DHCP relay, then NSX is a middleman. So if you remember this, you will never get confused like what is DHCP server and what is DHCP relay. All right, now this is the most important part of today's topic. So listen carefully. We have already completed prerequisites. Then we understood what is DHCP profile. We also understood server versus relay. Now the next logical question is, where exactly do we configure DHCP in NSX? And what options does NSX give us on a segment for DHCP? So let's go there to the segment and explore the DHCP configuration options. So when you edit a segment and if you go to the DHCP configuration, like selecting set DHCP config, you find three options over there. Okay, so one is segment DHCP server, DHCP relay, and gateway DHCP server. The first option, segment DHCP server. What does this mean? This particular segment itself is going to act as a DHCP server, so that IP allocation happens from the segment using the subnet and the range which is configured on the segment here. So here DHCP profile is attached to this segment, then edge cluster is mandatory. Gateway is not involved for DHCP here. Okay, so this is usually used in for small lab environments for testing purposes, then demo setups. Okay, so this is where it will be exactly used. So when you select segment DHCP server, the important thing you need to remember here is subnet is mandatory and IP range is optional, but that is recommended. Okay, so edge cluster selection is mandatory, and if edge cluster is missing, then we'll be getting some error message while configuring this segment DHCP server. So next option is about gateway DHCP server. This is very common in production support, so pay attention to it. Here, a segment will not act as DHCP server. Segment only defines the subnet, like tier 1 or tier 0 gateway. Here it is going to act as a DHCP server. So think like this: segment equal to just network, and gateway is equal to your DHCP server. So all DHCP leases are managed at the gateway level, not at the segment level. This is the preferred option for production support because it provides centralized DHCP management, better scalability, easier troubleshooting than common design in enterprise level environments. So in real production, mostly you can see gateway DHCP server, not a segment DHCP server. Now the last option is DHCP relay. Here NSX does not assign IP segment. So here segment does not need any IP range. DHCP server is completely external. So all we do here is we attach a DHCP relay profile so that NSX forwards DHCP request to the external DHCP server. So you can use this when organization already has a Windows DHCP or a Linux DHCP server. Here the IP management is centralized and NSX should not own DHCP responsibility. It is very common in enterprise hybrid networks and brownfield environments. So now let me simplify this three types, DHCP types. Segment DHCP server, the segment gives the DHCP IP. Gateway DHCP server, the gateway tier 0 or tier 1 gives the DHCP IP, and DHCP relay, external server gives IP. So that's it, no confusion if you remember this. So before moving forward, make sure you are clear on all three options, and also where DHCP server actually runs, when to use which option. If this is clear, then next we'll configure segment DHCP server step by step in a live demo. All right, let's move to the configuration.